The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the Weymouth Community Access staff or its board of directors. WCA, in compliance with FCC regulations, is prohibited from exercising control over the content of independent member-produced public access programming.
Welcome to Witnessing the Word, the cable TV show for the Immaculate Conception Parish. I'm Kevin Walsh, your host for this show. And with us in the show is Father Joseph Rossi, the new pastor of the Collaborative, Immaculate Conception, and St. Jerome's. Father Rossi, or would you prefer Father Joe, Father Joseph? How would you?
Father Joe is fine.
Father Joe, okay. Welcome.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
We like having you here, and
Pleasure
glad
to be
you
here.
could join us for the show.
Thank you very much.
Not only one new parish you have to get used to, but two, huh? Tell us, what would you like to say to this group of folks who are meeting you maybe for the first time?
This has been a very, very big move for me, since the 4th of June and the days leading up to it. But the people here have been absolutely terrific. I think that feeling people's support makes me want to get up in the morning and give this thing my all. This is big. It's not just big for me. I know it's big for our parishioners who are probably wondering what the world is going to happen and how it's going to happen. But I think if we all just kind of hang in there together and support one another, and that support has been very, very palpable to date, then I think we could be very, very delightfully surprised if we hang in there and move forward in a new way together. So I'm grateful for the people's support so far.
Okay. Well, before we get into some of the details on the Collaborative and how things are going to work, maybe we could just get a little information about you and your background so folks will get to know you a little bit
My
more.
background is very boring.
Yeah.
It's not going to win the bestseller list by any means, but I was born, and I come from the North Shore. I was born in Beverly. I grew up in Danvers. I attended St. John's Prep High School, and from the prep I immediately went into St. John's Seminary in Brighton. I entered there in the fall of 1976. I was ordained a priest in 1984. So you can do the math. I've been a priest for just over 29 years. And these are my 6th and 7th parishes, respectfully, within that period of time. It's been a great trip. It's been a wonderful experience for me.
Have you spent any time on the South Shore prior to now?
Prior to this, from 93 to 1999, for 6 years, I was very happily at St. Thomas More Parish in East Braintree.
Oh, just over the border.
Just over the border.
So you know a little bit about life down here. But
I do. I'm just connecting the dots again and just getting a little reacclimated, as they say. Yeah.
And you mentioned you've now been a priest for a little over 29 years. One thing we like to talk about when we have priests on the show is what made you decide to become a priest, and tell us about your family support. Anything that maybe might help people watching this show think, gee, maybe that's kind of what I should think.
Good question,
too.
Kevin. There was a priest in my parish who came into my parish, St. Richard's in Danvers, when I was a newly ordained, when he was a newly ordained priest. I was only in high school, my freshman and sophomore year in high school. And make a long story short, he became a hero to me. Not because of any sermon he ever gave or any mass he said or any program that he ran, but he loved he loved his work. People loved him. He was always very happy. He was very happy-go-lucky. And every time I would look at this individual, I would say, I want to be just like him when I grow up. And then as I grew older and older, that never went away. It became stronger. So it was something, going into the seminary was something that I needed to try, either to get into my system or out of my system. my family, they were my staunchest supporters. I think at first, my mother especially was concerned that I wasn't going to be happy as a priest because of all the things that you have to give up. And I said to her, as parents, you've had to give up probably a lot more than I ever will. And they obviously stood behind me every step of the way, to the point where they said, if this does not work out, you will always have a place to come home to. And that kind of took a lot of the pressure off me. And first couple of years were tough. I'm glad I hung in there. Obviously, I'm a very, very happy priest today. I love who I am. I love what I do. I believe in it. And,
so it sounds like while your family was supportive, they weren't pushing.
Correct. Never.
Which is, I think, helpful for many to know, because a lot of men might think that if they don't come from a super religious family where the first son always has to be a priest and the first daughter has to be a nun, that maybe they're not meant for it.
When I first told my mother that I was thinking about entering the seminary, she and I were doing the dishes, and she dropped every dish in her hand. So there was never any pushing. And my parents were always the kind of people who were very, very simple, hardworking, blue collar, down to earth people who did a lot of things very quietly and behind the scenes. And that's kind of how I operate. I think people will see that as time goes on. I look for no accolades at all for anything that I do. And you know, if the buck needs to stop with me, and it does, it can, you know, and then we just move on. So,
well, it's been said by some that this new collaboration is maybe a new form of evangelization. Does that ring with you? And if so, help us understand that.
I'm still trying to understand it myself, but I think I'm coming to terms with it a little bit more with the passage of each day. The new evangelization is called disciples and mission. So the first word that really sticks out is the word disciple. So it challenges us not to be consumers, but to be disciples. I think that we live in a world of consumerism. You know, something breaks, you make a call and you go to the place where it can be fixed. I think sometimes we have a tendency to look upon church that way. The whole notion of discipleship challenges us to commit ourselves on a much deeper level, long term, not just where and when there is a visible need, but you know, every single day of our lives, we're called upon to recommit and to rededicate ourselves to Christ and to everything that He stands for. The whole notion of mission refers to the fact that we're being called to something new, and we're traveling down a road that nobody has ever traveled before, myself included. So we're going to try some things are going to work, great, we'll celebrate that. Some things are not going to work, we'll go back to the drawing board. I don't wake up in the morning trying to make things that don't work, work. A circle isn't going to fit into a square. So it's going to be a learning process, and people are going to have to, be as patient with that as possible. Obviously, I can't control that, but I think a lot of what we're being called to is precisely that. This notion of discipleship and embracing a new vision and a new mission for our church.
And what changes do you envision, if you can,
change
in
for
each
me
parish?
Change for me is a very difficult word, because I think the average person finds change difficult. Yours truly finds change difficult. Leaving my previous assignment and coming here was a huge shift and a huge change for me that I have really found very, very difficult. Hence the reason why I have really appreciated the love and support of people in Weymouth. So I'm not coming in here, thinking up all these changes, even though things may shift and get done differently as time goes on. I think the biggest change is going to come in our attitudes and our mindsets in terms of how we approach what lies before us. Because whenever something is added or something is taken away, it's a change. When things get taken away, people find that very, very difficult. And I think it just kind of resurrects a lot of painful memories from the past that I'm not out to resurrect or to embellish in any way, shape, or form. So I don't envision, I don't come in here like a bull in a china shop. I think so far we've moved rather deliberately, and I intend to do that, and I want to consult to the best of my ability. In some instances, that's not going to be possible. But to the extent that it is possible, I want to consult before making a move that's going to affect large numbers of people.
Sounds like in
We'll
many
see where it
respects
goes.
it's going to be a team approach, trying to get everybody to work together
Correct.
to reach a common goal.
I am part of a leader of a team, a pastoral service team. They call it a PST, which basically consists of the priests, the deacons, the business managers, parish secretaries, religious ed persons, pastoral associates, and so forth, deacons. We all make up a team, so a team approach.
Sounds like we should call you a CEO.
Chief Evangelization Officer. Yes, yes.
St. Jerome's has a school.
Yes.
Immaculate has not had a school for many, many years. So how does that fit into the collaborative issues?
I see it as a vital part of our collaborative. I've only been here, I think I was only here a couple of weeks before the school closed for the summer, and I saw a gem of a school in action. From the principal all the way through the administrative staff to the faculty and even the students. The day that I pulled my car up to move into St. Jerome's Rectory, 3 or 4 of the kids came running over with one of their teachers to ask me if I needed any help, moving my stuff in. I mean, and then what I have seen since with the class of 2013 and just going around the school, it's a great school. It's a gem of a school in the city of Weymouth. I think part of what we have to do is really talk it up. There's going to be a regular corner or a column in the bulletin at Immaculate Conception relative to the school. I know that our principal, Kathy Pulio,
A great woman, by the way.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Kathy is a doll. She has expressed a willingness to come over to Immaculate, maybe after the school gets into session, and maybe speak at all the masses about the benefits of St. Jerome School. And also, we've given some thought maybe to putting together a program for 3-year-olds. Kind of like as a nursery type of experience. Maybe and located at Immaculate Conception in the parish center during the day, according to a schedule that's feasible, and maybe use that as a feeder for the school or some kind of connection with the school. These are all just floating ideas right now, but
Okay, well,
and we'll have more
good.
time to reflect upon the school probably in future sessions. But
And hopefully we can
It's,
talk about that down the road, because we're a
know.
parish that hasn't been accustomed to having that.
right, it's a
issue.
small school, and we have to keep our enrollment up.
Right.
It's all about numbers, whether we care to admit it or not. And if we keep our numbers at a certain level, that just opens up all kinds of doors for us. So.
Now, what part, if any, is the Archdiocese planning to play in this collaborative
The
process?
Archdiocese has offered us, the 12 pastors of these new collaboratives, all the support in the world that we need. All we have to do is call any one of them. They've given us cell phone numbers at any time of day, and they will be there for us to the nth degree. I have recently completed 64 hours worth of intense training sessions to get ready for this, and they really pulled out some great resources by which to help us. So I'm not afraid to ask either.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, Father, we're going to take a break and come back, and I think we're going to run some commercials. Is that what we do in the break? I don't know. But we're going to come back in a few moments and hopefully hear some more about the collaborative process and get to know you a little better.
Terrific.
Okay, welcome again to Witnessing the Word. I'm Kevin Walsh, your host, and once again with me is Father Joe Rossi, the new pastor of the Collaborative of Immaculate Conception and St. Jerome's. Just before we broke, you mentioned that you took, was it 65 hours of training as part of this collaborative process? kinds of things did you do and learn and hear about in those 65 hours? That's a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, those were very intense sessions by which we were absolutely saturated. A lot of it was a reaffirmation of, experience that we've had in the past, but we've only had to use that in terms of, being responsible for one parish. So a lot of it was how to bring multiple parish settings, together. Mm-hmm. Some of my colleagues are in collaboratives of 3 parishes and 4 parishes. This is obviously 2 parishes. So it was all a way, by virtue of the most modern techniques and methods and, flow charts and whatevers, to kind of get us to wrap our minds around prioritizing, developing 30 and 60 and 90-day plans, what's more important, what's less important, things similar to that to really help us move through this. Otherwise, the whole thing becomes so big and you don't know where to begin. And there are days when I must confess I do feel that way.
We mentioned before the break that this is almost kind of like a team approach. Have you had any experience prior to this in what you might call team ministry? Or
when I was stationed in Braintree with Father Neil Mullaney, he was the pastor and I was the parochial vicar or the associate pastor, but we kind of lived and operated as a team. Mm-hmm. And then when we left Braintree and we both went to St. Pius and Lynn.
Together.
We went as an official team ministry. And one of the things that we had to do before that was to draw up our vision of what a team ministry was. And it was a very, very helpful exercise and a very interesting experience.
Now, I know a lot of the details of things are still in flux, but have you had any thought about the Mass schedule? And for example, there's 2 9:00 Masses that can't, well, I guess it could happen, but it doesn't sound like it might. Have you thought about how to schedule those kinds of things?
Again, it's going to be a whole process, probably beginning sometime after Labor Day, sometime in September. I'm not rushing into this. I definitely want to propose something to the people and get their feedback in terms of whether or not it would work. But one of the things, currently we have 2 Masses going on at the same time in both parishes. And one of the things that I'm thinking about is possibly proposing something like a 9:00 Mass in one parish on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and a 9:00 Mass in the other parish on like Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Something like that. And we'll obviously begin the process, give people a chance to respond. It would certainly make scheduling a lot easier since as of today, we have lost Father John Kennedy, who's gone back to India, who was a big help at St. Jerome's. Having one less priest to figure into this makes it a little more challenging. And then when people want and need to get away, that's a consideration as well. So,
do you see anything in the horizon, maybe about getting another priest or another deacon or anyone else to help?
No, not in terms of one being assigned, but obviously sometimes you hear of priests who are in the area who are looking for work. I would certainly be open to that.
How about deacons? Any possibility of getting additional deacons?
It's a possibility. I would certainly be open to that as well. We currently have a deacon in each parish, for whom I'm really grateful. They can be very, very valuable in things like, baptismal catechesis and visiting the sick and doing marriage prep work. So I'm a very, very open person. I'll keep my eyes and ears open, and if anybody is listening and feels the urge to respond, feel free to do so.
Okay. Now, how about music ministries? I know we have multiple music ministry groups here. I assume St. Jerome's does as well. Any thoughts about combinations or collaborations or?
I've already met with both staffs. Subsequent to that, I've already met with both music directors, and I've made clear some general parameters that I think church music needs to kind of meet. I think music is an extremely important part of what we do if we're going to get people back and make it a meaningful experience for them. So I think both parishes need to be open to stretching and to broadening their repertoires in terms of what is sung, how it is sung, who is singing it, and so forth. There's room for everybody in this Church of Christ, and I think that music is a great way to make people feel that they belong.
And how about CCD programs? Any thoughts there or any plans? Or?
We just hired back a director for the grade 1 to 8 program at St. Jerome's, Kathy Fallon. Ruth Ann Sinabaldi and Catherine McCabe will continue to do the program at Immaculate. So the elementary grades from grades K through 8 will be done pretty much as they have always been done. One of the things that we're going to try this year and see where it goes is we're going to bring the confirmation programs together. We're going to do one confirmation program. The folks at Immaculate have a program in place that we're going to offer to both parishes. Classes will meet at St. Jerome's and at Immaculate, with some sessions being together, but we're going to respect the fact that people belong to individual parishes. We're going to bring them together for a few things and see how this goes. I mean, this is going to be a work in progress for a while, and I'm grateful to those who are willing to assist to make it happen. So that will kind of like be a new collaboration within the context of religious ed.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens.
Now, speaking of collaborations, I know there has been some talk about having a multi-parish collaboration with RCIA programs, not just the two of these parishes, but others as well in Weymouth?
I think it makes sense to have one RCIA experience between the two parishes because there will be one Easter Vigil. I'm not sure where and how we're going to do the Triduum yet, but there will not be 2 Holy Saturdays. There'll be 1 Holy Saturday. So I think having one RCIA experience makes sense. There are people who have expressed a willingness to help with that. We're going to see how far that goes.
Okay. Have you had time to think of things like the parish councils and the finance councils? When it gets to money, a lot of people get a little concerned.
Parish councils, I can envision there being one parish council within the collaborative, maybe 4 from each parish. Finance council, I can envision each parish having a finance council of 4 each, including myself, the business managers, and maybe 2 others. Parish council can meet together. The finance councils can even meet together and separately as needed.
And is there a plan or a thought for the actual money that each parish has? Is that going to be a combined pot now, or
the monies that come in for St. Jerome's will stay at St. Jerome's. The monies that come in at Immaculate will stay there. If you go to Immaculate and you throw in an envelope from St. Jerome's, it'll go to St. Jerome's, and vice versa.
Okay.
So.
How about other social?
Some funds might have to be allocated, differently, like in terms of salaries and whatnot.
Yeah, and I assume you might bulk purchase and things like that.
Sharing expenses for like snow plowing
Right.
and landscaping. We're thinking about doing things like
Right.
that. So
Yeah, it makes
I
sense.
didn't mean to cut you off.
No, but it makes sense, and
Yeah.
obviously, like everyone else lately in hospitals buying together in
Right.
groups, why
Right.
not parishes?
Right.
How about other social things? For example, we have a great St. Patrick's Day feast here and a dance, and I'm sure St. Jerome's has something that they've become known for. How do you envision that part of parish life
I could envision us
operating?
having one big St. Patrick's bash. Now, I'm certainly all ears, but I could certainly envision that. Or take it beyond that. If there are any other celebrations, throughout the year that people really feel strongly about, I'd like to see us do a number of things together. I really think that this collaborative is ripe for that. I'm hearing people say to me, this is long overdue, we are ready for it. Not that everybody is going to feel that way, but I'd like to see that.
Okay.
Yeah, I really would.
Now, I know that you are going to be living at St. Jerome.
Correct.
Are both of the rectories going to be kept open?
Yes.
Okay.
Currently, Bishop John Dewar, Father Hui, my associate,
Right.
for whom I am most grateful, and I'm grateful to Bishop Dewar for his assistance in transitioning, and myself, we're in residence at St. Jerome's. Father Michael Zvigny is in residence at Immaculate, and I'm grateful for that. His sisters live in the convent building. He's nearby, and I think it's great having a presence in that house. And I think that it will stay that way until future notice. Down the road, the uses of those buildings will evolve into something. I know not what right now, but I'm very, very comfortable with the way both of them are being used now,
Okay.
for the moment.
Are there any things that you might like to share with our listeners about your life as a priest? How you found it, what kinds of things you might ask young men who are listening to think about as far as whether priesthood might be for them, and just how have you found the experience? I know you said that you've been happy as a priest, but what's life been like?
You know, for me, it's all about people. You know, I spend a lot of time, you know, doing, you know, the business aspect and taking care of grounds and buildings and personnel and what have you, and that's all part of my new role. But for me, it's all about people. It's all about making a difference in people's lives in this capacity. And the fact that people are still willing to let us into their lives at pivotal moments, from birth to death and everything in between, is nothing less than a privilege for me. Mm-hmm. It gives me a lot of joy knowing that I've made this much of a difference for the better in somebody's life, or that God has through me. And it all started because of somebody in my life who looked like he was very, very happy doing what he did. You know, keep your eyes and ears open for your own heroes, people who aren't going to necessarily make the headlines, but people who become heroes to you.
That priest didn't recruit you.
Not at all.
In an active sense, but by his way, drew you in.
And he probably didn't even realize what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about, is there anything you'd like to say to maybe some of the Catholics who have fallen away or who are inactive, maybe, shall we say? Anything that maybe you'd like to say to invite them back or to let them know how things have changed?
A big part of this new evangelization is to reach out to those who are on the fence, those who have been alienated, those who are inactive, those who are searching, who are seeking, who are wondering, who are questioning. I love it when people call the rectory and say, I want to come in, I have a lot of questions about my faith. And they will find out that many of the questions they struggle with, I struggle with. Mm-hmm. And the important thing is that we struggle not in isolation from, but together with. That makes all the difference in the world to me.
And is there a way that you think that outreach can better occur?
I think, for me, it's an old school approach. It's a roll up your sleeves, grassroots, one person at a time approach. Mm-hmm. It's not a program, it's not a gimmick, it's not a fad. It's something real, it's something genuine that people experience. And I have found in my experience, if people see it as such, they will respond.
Okay. Well, we've got about a minute left, Father Joe. Is there anything you'd like to leave our viewers with, and maybe invite them to anything or ask them to think about something?
I'm grateful once again for all the support, and you know, I really and truly want people to know that I am here to give 150% to the people of both parishes. There are going to be days when things are going to work better than others. We're going to keep at it. It's not my goal to hurt or to isolate or to alienate anybody. You know, I love God and I love His people, and I hope we can come together sometime in later September or early October to celebrate that. There will be a massive installation, probably at Immaculate Conception, followed by a nice social, probably in the Hackett Center afterwards. Not for me, but I think as a way of more formally kicking off the collaborative. Mm-hmm. So when that date is available, we'll let people know, and I really and truly hope that people will kind of come together as a way of really marking the beginning of something new in a way that becomes the envy of all the other collaboratives and parishes in this archdiocese. Okay. I think we can do it.
We'll be the leader.
Amen.
Well, Father Joe, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kevin.
Welcome again to the collaborative.
Pleasure.
And I hope we'll see you again on the show soon. In the meantime, this is Kevin Walsh asking you to join us again for Witnessing the Word.
Witnessing the Word is produced by the parish community of the Immaculate Conception in East Weymouth. We welcome new members to our parish. If you are no longer a practicing Catholic, please consider joining us some Sunday for Mass. If you are not currently active in a church and are interested in finding out more about the Catholic faith, Join us some Sunday. Feel free to talk to our pastor or one of our permanent deacons. On behalf of our pastor, Father Bill Salmon, thank you for joining us in witnessing the Word.